Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 117. Today we're going to be talking about Waffle House.
It's true.
What we want from Dragon's Dogma's 2 DLC potential and Ken Levine's upcoming game, Judas. Joining me as always, my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Dirty. Cayman, how are you?
Patrick, I'm doing great. Patrick. Patrick, doing great. We're here.
Yeah.
I've played so much Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
It's kind of at this point in my life where I'm kind of like, am I ever gonna do anything else than play Dragon's Dogma? I actually don't know.
You know, it's
and I'm both scared and not.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm 65 hours in now, Patrick, and I don't want to believe that's accurate.
Yeah. You know, I can't help but wonder, and you know, we'll jump into more impressions of Dragon's Dogma here shortly, but I can't help but wonder if at any point you maybe fell asleep at the wheel. Because 65 hours in does seem like a little high for where you're at and where I'm at and how much you've progressed and how much I've progressed.
It's interesting just to say that. Just, you know what, we'll save it for
because we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about, because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod, just like Rabbit128 is. So be sure to follow us over there so you know when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. Tomorrow night, as of recording, Cayman, we're going to be doing a little streamy. The good news is my PlayStation 5 has been fixed.
Let's do this.
Let's fucking do this. The bad news, it's not bad news. We want to do a little bit more Stardew. Rose and I are having a lot of fun playing Stardew together, so we're going to do Stardew tomorrow night, but we might still sneak in a Last of Us Part 2 stream this week, if not this week, next week. The Last of Us Part 2 going to come back imminently, but we got a little more to do in the JGG and Sons farm over in Stardew Valley. I got speed up to 10. I'm fucking zooming around. It's great. And, you know, John brings up a good point. Maybe a double game stream. Maybe we do a little bit of Stardew, do a little bit of Last of Us, get a little happy to then be so sad and so depressed. You know, everything is, you know, it's a balance. Everything in life is a balance. And finally, join the Discord. We got a fun little Discord where we discuss what we're playing and generally goof off together about video games. So if that sounds like something you'd like, click the link in the description. Click the link in the bio of our socials. Join the Discord. Cayman, we were talking a little bit about it at the top, at the tippy. But let's start the show how we always start the show here at Spotlight Games with what we've been playing. We both we are knee deep in Dragon's Dogma.
Absolutely knee deep. Dragon's Dogma 2, Patrick, allegedly 65 hours.
Allegedly. Let's pick back up.
I'm level 45.
Okay.
So I don't know what that's like for you.
I'm currently 35 hours in, level 37.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if because we're at the same location in the game. We're in like the third major city in the game. Second and a half. The first one's kind of small. But I do remember at the beginning I was doing a lot more quests than you, but like we're at the same kind of general point. But I don't know. But keep talking to me though. So 65 hours, 47.
65 out 45.
45.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the other thing too that might be why is because I've been doing a lot of side quests.
Okay, sure.
And a lot of side quests don't necessarily give you a ton of XP. I've almost maxed out like multiple vocations.
Yeah.
I maxed out fighter, I maxed out ranger. I'm already at like 5 or 6 into thief.
Okay.
I'm 5 in warrior. I'm almost maxed out sorcerer.
So you've dabbled a lot more than I have. I've maxed out thief. I just maxed out spear hand earlier today. I've not started a third. I have a plan of what my third's going to be, but I haven't started it.
Literally just got spear hand.
Okay.
I've been rolling around doing weird shit in weird areas, uncovering things,
Yeah.
finding mysteries abound every corner. I think the thing that killed, let's just say hypothetically that the 65 is not accurate. Fell
Yeah.
asleep at the wheel. There's a
Sure.
chance that I honestly don't think it's 65. That
Yeah.
seems like a lot. I would say probably closer to like 55 to 60.
Sure.
You know, but where I'm at, like, I still is a substantial amount of time. And I feel like I'm constantly stumbling onto new things
Yeah.
every single time. I just found out that you can, if you find catapults out in the world, you can use them.
You can. I've not been able to yet. Like I've never had a big thing around to shoot one at,
Yeah.
but I was able to
I
shoot one. It just went to nothing.
I shot a dragon
Oh, cool.
with a catapult completely on accident. Didn't even know I could do it. And
Amazing.
I like one hit, it explodes, and it took like 3 health bars down, and the thing just took off
Whoa.
and flew away.
Of course. I
And I was
mean,
like,
I would if
"What?
I were the dragon.
Catapults?" So like this is like these big wooden arrow bow things that are on top of there's terms for it. They're like on top of towers. There's an actual like term
Is it a
architectural
ballista?
ballista. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. But if you find catapults, there's find catapults around, you don't know what to do
Mhm.
with them. If you take a rock and sit it on the catapult, it'll then give you the prompt to crank the catapult
Cool.
and it'll launch. Here's the thing, what I found out is it'll actually open up caves and shortcuts and random areas that you didn't know existed.
This game, man, it continues to impress me.
It's
I
insane, Patrick.
I was listening to a podcast. Who was talking about this? I can't remember, but they were talking about how they jumped on a griffin
Mhm.
and rode it back to its nest. And its nest was like somewhere that you couldn't climb to unless you rode the griffin. And in its nest was like all sorts of loot, seeker tokens, all this kind of shit. And I was like, fuck, now I need to ride a griffin back to its nest. Like it's the kind of game that I'm always it's like exploration is so fun in this game. I
And that's
stumble into all
yeah.
sorts of caves and crazy shit, and I'm having such a good time
And it's
in
why,
this game.
like, and so when everyone's complaining, and I totally get it, because where I'm at now, I'm like, yeah, there's moments where I'm like, dude, if I can just fucking fast travel, because I'm like, I don't want to have to like go all this way to go do this shit. And I'm like, I don't. But then I realized, like, oh, like I also have like 25 fairy stones for fast traveling that
Oh,
I've been
wow, okay.
saving up the entire game. And I've got like 5 port crystals I should be dropping off at places because they're like removable. You can pick them up and take them with you.
Oh, that's good to know. I've only
Yeah.
gotten 1 port crystal, and I was afraid to use
I
it.
got like 5 of them. I've one specifically located in a certain area for like when I want to try to tackle this shit, which by the way brings me to, have you found, Patrick? This is a brief spoiler. It's tied to a trophy.
Brief spoiler, time to it.
Tied to a lot of trophies, actually. Have you found the goddess of riddles?
No, I have not yet.
Okay.
I've been to where she is, but I
Mhm.
didn't stumble onto her, and I've not gone back since we talked offline about that to discover
I
her.
wonder if you found the second location they go to,
I don't
which
know.
I will say the goddess of riddles is absolute fucking nightmare fuel.
I've seen online, is the goddess of riddles connected at all to Sphinx riddles?
Yes,
Okay,
it
so I've
is the
seen that those exist, but I've not actually come across one yet.
yeah. So it's you get so like to kind of explain a little bit. There is an entire side quest involving the goddess of riddles, who's a sphinx. And she gives you a series of 5 riddles that you have to figure out. If you fuck up one of the riddles, it'll end the entire quest line
Oh,
right then and
wow.
there. So it's the one of the only times I've like actively used a guide because I'm like, I want to see this through because there's some like really cool shit that you
Yeah.
get from it. Which is a lot of the trophies that are like really weird, obscure trophies listed, like very visible listed on the trophy list, are connected to items you get from her. But there's other ways that you can get certain ones that can tie in. There's
Yeah.
a lot to it. Either way, that being said, um, the character model for the goddess of riddles is genuinely terrifying.
Cool.
Like actually very scary looking. And every time I interact with it, I'm like, I don't like this. There's something so creepy about her.
Yeah. That's cool.
Um,
I gotta go find her.
I've like just kind of some of the crazy shit that like happened. I stumbled across 2 Cyclops fighting a golem and just in the wild. Like
Yeah,
I literally just walked up and they were already down like a couple health bars each. Like this
amazing.
fight had been going on for some time, right? There's so many crazy things. I rode a griffin. It didn't take me to its nest, but I rode a griffin. It took me like halfway across the map.
Wow.
I had to dismiss my pawns and get new pawns because I was so far away. And the thing is about the game is like if you're not using your pawns, like you're gonna get your ass kicked
Oh yeah,
real fast. You might be like, I'm so OP, I don't need pawns. That is a
wrong,
bold face lie.
wrong.
You need pawns and you need a mage pretty much constantly on your team. Like it's
I learned that the hard way. When I switched from thief to spearhand, which at first I wasn't liking spearhand, but now that I've maxed it out, spearhand fucking rips. I had a ranger and a warrior as my other 2 pawns. Ranger, warrior, and I wanted to try sorcerer. And it was like, man, without having someone to heal, I was going through so many items, like using so many potions and shit. So now, yeah, I'm locking in a mage at all times moving forward.
which it's kind of shit that there's only like one class because it kind of explain all the classes. And this might be different. There's a couple classes I haven't unlocked yet, but the mage is the only one that like actively heals your party. And so because of that, it kind of sucks a little bit. That's like you kind of have to lock in a mage at all times
Yeah.
because like you don't want to not have them. So my main pawn is a mage so that I can just get her like there's perks to your main pawn that you have that you can do. And so like I have my main pawn is just constantly healing my party because I'm doing dumb shit. But the game active, and I think the other thing too is the game actively wants you to do dumb shit
You're right.
because doing dumb shit is what ends up getting you like the weird to weird areas. Like I unlocked a quest, right? I just overheard some NPCs talking in town, and it
Mhm.
unlocked this super fucking creepy quest. Like
Cool.
it's like a horror game essentially.
Which town were you in?
I was in Vermont.
Vermont. Okay, because I don't know that I've done that quest, and now I want to go
Yeah,
find it.
it's
Um,
just, but like that's I think the thing is, and that's why like, when we talked about this like ad nauseum last week, is like this game. It does like there's so much happening at one time that it can feel so involved. But at the same time, too, like the game is just like, please play at your leisure. Take your time, do whatever you want to do. If you want to do the whole quest, you can beat the game in 25 hours. And you just don't want to do anything else.
yeah.
But it's like if you want to put 100 hours in and see everything, like you could easily do that. I mean, the trophy guide itself is like this is one playthrough to get the trophy is 70 to 100 hours. One
Oh,
playthrough to
that's
get
not that bad,
platinum.
honestly.
Which isn't, it's just that there's some trophies that are tied to like very specific things that if you fuck up, you can't, because of the way the save system works, you
Right.
can't go back. Like your second, like I'm locked into a second playthrough if I want to get the platinum at this point.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mentioned to you, I'm glad that I'm playing this on PC because I don't want to be tempted to get a platinum, and I'm never tempted to 100% games on other platforms. For whatever reason, they don't have a platinum
Yeah,
trophy. I'm not
same.
interested. But I was disappointed, Cayman,
Mm.
to learn that this might be a shock to you. Maybe not. I don't know. I took down my first dragon.
Did you?
Did it take virtually all items that I had in my possession, including multiple wake stones, which are things that you use to revive you and your party? Yes. Do I regret doing it? Yes. Did I get a trophy? No.
Yeah.
Like what? I finally kill a dragon. It takes me like 40 minutes to kill this dragon, and I don't even get a trophy for it.
Mm.
Get Shuhei Yoshida on the line.
There's some interesting things regarding like some of the stuff that are tied and aren't tied to trophies, because there are some stuff that's like that are tied to trophies that I'm like, wow, that is absolutely insane. I would have never have thought to done this to get this particular trophy, which is cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, there's also like it does feel like like as someone who's a trophy hunter by day and a swimwear model by night.
Yep.
It's one of those things where it's like I'm not popping trophies at a rate that like feels like I'm succeeding in this particular meta.
Yeah.
But I know that like once I get to the end game or like get close to the end game, it's just gonna be like
Bing, 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 bing,
yeah, one
bing.
after another after another after
Blah,
another.
blah, blah, blah.
Either way, Pat,
Little crazy frog for you.
fucking love this game so much.
The
It's
game is
so
so
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am having such a good time with it, and I think if you didn't get convinced last week by us to play this game, play this game. But Cayman, I want to bring in a little story here,
Yeah.
transitioning into our first story, but still talking about Dragon's Dogma 2. Capcom is seeking feedback on potential Dragon's Dogma 2 DLC. This is coming from Tom Ivan at VGC. I can speak, I promise. Capcom is seeking feedback on Dragon's Dogma 2 following the game's release last week. Notably, the company is using a newly launched survey to gauge interest in additional content for the game. It asks players what kind of DLC they'd like to see for the game. The only updates that we know about so far are things like bug fixes, game features, like being able to have a second playthrough, etc. Like there's no public plan for new content, essentially just fixing stuff. So I thought this would be an interesting way to start a conversation. Like, what would we want from Dragon's Dogma 2 DLC? I don't know, currently where I'm at in the game and like percentage wise, how far I am into the story. I don't know if I'm halfway, 2/3, a third. I have no idea.
Do you know, like, just looking based on your trophies, like how there's like, I think from what I can tell, I haven't unlocked, like, I haven't made them unhidden or whatever. But it seems like I think there's like 8 trophies related to story related stuff.
Okay. I've unlocked 18 total trophies, but I'm trying to see 7 hidden trophies remaining. I would assume the 7 hidden trophies are story trophies.
There's a couple that there's a couple that aren't. So I guess it really just depends on how many of the other ones it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm about, I think, 50% through the story based trophies.
Okay.
From what I can tell, there's still a lot of stuff that like the story itself has still remained as like a big question mark for me.
Yeah.
But to answer the question, like, what do I want? Presumably halfway through the story of the game and a lot of time in, I think one thing I would love to see for DLC would be like whatever they do, add in more trophies.
Sure.
I think adding in trophies of like, yeah, kill a dragon, kill this, do that, I think would be really cool. As crazy as it sounds, I would love a boss rush. This game's boss fights, which like I say, boss fights so far for me have been like encounters in the wild or like never. I don't think I've had a single one where it's been like a set piece boss fight yet. I think there's one coming soon, but I haven't had like a distinct, this is something where I have to do like, it's, you get to the end of a quest line, fight this enemy. Like I haven't had one of those yet, but like I would love a boss rush where I'm like, because there's a moment, there was a part of this map I uncovered where it almost made me do a boss rush where it hit me with a Cyclops, an Ogre, and then a Minotaur, like back to back to back.
That's cool.
And it was exhilarating.
Yeah, I bet.
So, like I would love something like an arena maybe where like
I was about to say I'd be really cool if it was an arena.
Like that would be really cool. Like if you're in an arena where you have to fight like a chimera and then immediately turn around and fight like a griffin, or fight like that fucking headless horseman, which will absolutely wreck my goddamn shit.
Not seen this yet, and I'm so excited too.
Yeah, that one is tied to a trophy. So
okay,
get ready. It is rough.
Cool,
rough. But I would love something like that. Honestly, I think the thing is with this game is like the way the story is told so far. The way the story's been told, it's very much like, hey, just kind of go do shit and uncover the story as you go. It's not like Elden Ring where it's just like ludicrously vague for purposes that just like Miyazaki hates you. This game, the story just is kind of one of those where it's like there's a big mystery and you have to make it through. Yeah. I'm not necessarily sure where I'm at, where I'm like, I want more story DLC. Maybe.
I'm a little 50-50 on that myself. So I was looking while you were talking there, and it seems like I'm about halfway through the story trophies as well. And I feel like halfway through, I really don't feel like I've gotten very much story. It's very much been like, I feel like it keeps being like, oh, we're gonna find out more soon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just feel like I've still not found out a ton. It's been more those like those emergent gameplay stories that are happening.
Yeah.
The me spending 40 minutes taking down a dragon, me losing one of my pawns because I just didn't have the time to save her because I was just trying to stay alive from this dragon myself. And then
Yeah.
she ends up dying and disappearing out of my world because she was, from a different realm. Like those are the kinds of stories that I'm clinging to, which is so funny because I feel like those are the kinds of games I don't normally really like a lot. Like that was
Sure.
my whole thing with Elden Ring. Like that outside of the difficulty was like I want more story, but this game is so good and fun. I don't care.
Yeah.
But so all that being said, I would potentially like some more story that's like specific, here's a 5-hour quest that's gonna, go at a breakneck pace, like go through all sorts of maybe there's a new city involved. I don't know. But I really like your idea of like an arena battle mode. That'd be really dope. I also would like it'd be kind of cool for as someone who didn't play the first one. And it seems like the games aren't super connected, at least not yet that I know of. It'd be kind of cool if there was some DLC that like tied it back to the first
Sure.
one in some capacity. I don't even know what
Yep.
that would be since I didn't play it. But if, sometimes when a game um has a second or third entry and is like you don't need to have played the original one, sometimes they'll have content to like try to bring you up to speed on what you missed. It'd be kind of cool if like that was somehow handled in a DLC way,
Sure.
perhaps. But ultimately, for me, I'm just kind of like I just want more.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's not just costumes, like I want more
Yeah.
stuff to do.
I think too, like I would love for if this was something that was just like just unlocked in New Game Plus, like a mount. Like
Amount would be really dope.
let me ride a horse or something that can make on foot travel just a little bit faster.
Yeah,
Where like I understand why it is the way it is because the truth of the matter is while you're playing the game, a lot of these emergent storylines, quest lines, rare these events that happen that you get so invested in doing. Like I showed up in a town one time and a fucking dragon was attacking the town and I had to like jump in or I was like, it's gonna kill everyone here if I don't stop. And it ended up like took a couple health bars down and it flew away.
yeah,
But like when those things happen, they happen for a reason. That's why there's no like the fast travel system is the way it is. It's baked in. It makes sense to
yeah.
me. But like would like a maybe to be a little bit faster. Like give me the ability in New Game Plus to be able to ride a horse.
I wish at the very, very absolute least, you could choose where you want the ox cart to take you. At
That
the
also would
very
be cool.
least. Like I hate that. So I was in Batal, which is if you haven't played the game, it's like super southwest of the map. And the starting city is like northeast. And I'm like, well, I need to get back to the capital for whatever quest line. But in order to do that, I have to ox cart to one place and then ox cart to another place. And there's like, honestly, it takes like 5 minutes total because both times I'm being raided during the ox cart
Yeah.
travel and like I have to wait for it to be even time to take the ox cart. Like there were just like little things that I'm like, if I could just from point A say, I want to go here in my ox cart, I don't even care if you charge me 10 times the price because ox cart travel very cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Charge
200
me
gold.
right, charge me 5K. I don't care. I will do it because there are times when it's nice to take the walk and like, oh, I'm going to take this other path. I'm going to take the long way and I'll stumble into a cave and I'll spend 45 minutes in the cave and I'll get some great loot. But like there are times that I don't want to do that and I would rather just take an ox cart or a fairy stone, whatever. But I've only gotten like 3 fairy stones so far, so I've only used one once because I don't
Dude,
have that many.
okay, so there's really nice people out there in the world, shockingly.
Yeah,
When so you can have your pawn can be used by other people.
people are giving
And
you fairy stones out
dude,
here.
I had someone give me 2 fairy stones as a gift.
Wow,
And I was like,
be the
what?
change you want to see.
Like what? And then like for the next like 5, they just gave me like rotten meat.
Yeah,
Like,
those assholes.
really, really funny. I think there's like just some like quality of life stuff that I think as DLC makes more sense to be like, hey, we're gonna throw this in as DLC. If you
Yeah,
want this kind of stuff, like go for it. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the game as it is doing what it's doing right now, and
Yeah.
I'm legitimately like, yeah, I fucked up. I can't platinum in one playthrough, but I might actually go back and do the platinum.
Doesn't sound like the worst thing.
Depending on where I'm at, like what I have to do to get the platinum. Like I know what I fucked up. At least I can get that trophy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't wait to keep playing. If you're playing Dragon's Dogma 2, talk to us about it. Join the Discord. Right now, it's just me and Cayman yelling at each other about Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, pretty
let's
much.
get some new voices in the conversation about how good this game is. Cayman, this next story, for attentive listeners, when I started the show and said we're going to be talking about Waffle House, they might have thought, why are we talking about Waffle House? Well, this is why, folks. I just can't believe this is a story.
Fucking amazing.
Tekken 8 director responds to many fans asking for a Waffle House level. I'm pulling from Taylor Lyles at IGN. Quick sidebar before I jump in. If you don't know what Tekken 8 is, it's a fighting game. It's like Mortal Kombat. It's like Street Fighter. It's just a different franchise.
I love how you explain what Tekken 8 is, but you're like, our audience 1000% knows what Waffle House is.
Come on. They're going to know what a Waffle
That's
House is.
fair,
Most
yeah.
of our listeners are located right here in Atlanta. But if you don't know, Waffle House is like Denny's, but in the South. And a lot crazier. And the food's a lot better.
Yeah, Denny's is like a goddamn IHOP.
Yeah.
Waffle House is like a different level of
the reason I
shame.
say that is because there are a lot of places where like Denny's is all they have. Like they don't have.
Oh, like those
more
places, those towns you go to, and all they have is a Huddle House.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Get out.
So first of all, the tagline of this story is Tekken fans don't want this. They need it, which is a great tagline. But okay, so in response to a wave of fans lobbying for a Waffle House themed stage at Tekken 8, the game's director Katsuhiro Harada finally broke the silence and addressed the high demand for this unique stage. Over the weekend, Harada responded to a request one fan made in his replies about adding a stage based on Waffle House to the latest installment in Bandai Namco's fighting game series. In a rare instance, Harada-san responded and asked why so many people keep asking him to add this seemingly unrelated breakfast restaurant to the game. He said, quote, "Okay, I will only ask about this request, or I will only ask once about this request. Why do some communities send me requests for, quote, Waffle House? Please be sure to explain the basis for this request, including the original story, history, and background. I look forward to an explanation from someone who knows more," end quote. After the large volume of responses he received explaining the memes, Harada followed up on his question by thanking fans for explaining why they wanted it so much. But as you might have expected, he said that making the stage would not be easy because Waffle House is a registered trademark and he would need permission from the owner of and the rights to Waffle House to make the stage. He says, quote, "Thanks for the explanation, guys. And I understand that many people are requesting it. However, I think you are missing one important point. The restaurant has both the trademark and the rights to the restaurant. So if the restaurant chain's headquarters refuses to accept my proposal, it will not happen." Sounds like he's going to ask, though.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you just imagine you are whatever you are, whatever that job is, where you're the person who fields these emails. And it's like, I'm sorry, the game director of a fighting game from Japan wants to use Waffle House. Here's the thing that like Waffle House needs to do.
Yeah.
One, like, I'm not gonna not continue to go to Waffle House. Like I always will.
Yeah.
However, Waffle House just needs to lean into the meme.
I 100% agree.
We are look, the food's greasy and gross and you love it. And we also understand that our line cooks will fight people in the parking lot. And trust me, I've seen it with my own two eyes.
Waffle House social media team, shockingly quiet in general in the year 2024. Like for the kind of brand Waffle House is, I'm surprised that they don't have a TikTok following of like 4 billion people. Yeah. So this is their moment. This is the chance.
We're a family establishment. Like, motherfuckers, you're not. Half of your employees are meth heads. You're not a family establishment.
But like the way that Harada-san talks about it, genuinely sounds like he's going to make the ask, because he says, if the restaurant chain's headquarters refuses to accept my proposal, it will not happen. That suggests that you're going to make the proposal, and I'm here for it. And this is the chance for Waffle House to put down the spatula, come out and embrace the fans, and give them what they want, which is, I would buy Tekken 8 in a heartbeat if I could play in Waffle House, just to put my money where my mouth is.
Here's the thing: Kentucky Fried Chicken, they do it.
They do it.
You know for a fact they do it.
They probably asked.
They probably did, and they're like, "All right, guys, look, Kentucky Fried Chicken can be rat shit, but it's not Waffle House.
It's no Waffle House." And Jordan in the chat makes a good point. There was already an SNL skit about Waffle House brawls. I'm sure someone sent that to Harada-san. Let's fucking get this to happen, people. I know our audience, we have a lot of power together.
Patrick,
we're a mighty few.
You're wearing a yellow shirt, a yellow polo. I think it's got a collar on it.
It's a SSBD, short sleeve button down.
That's Waffle House yellow, bud.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it up, because I meant to bring it up myself. I'm wearing my Waffle House colors today because of this.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
I mean, come on.
You know what? Hold on. Let me change it up. I feel like it's time for me to get my Waffle House on too.
There we go. Ska and pro wrestling are the only legitimate forms of art.
If that ain't Waffle House worthy, brother.
I don't know what the fuck it is.
Okay.
Rabbit128 says finishing moves have to be smothered, scrabbled, and smashed. I think that was supposed to be scrambled. I could have fixed that for you, but I didn't, because my brain was moving too slow.
It's fine. He
scattered, smothered, and covered. Let's get
fixed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really hope that this happens, because I think that would be the fucking funniest thing
it would be
to come out of video games in a really, really long time.
Hell yes.
Cayman, we got one more story to talk about today.
Patrick, it's only 31 minutes into the episode. We don't have one more story.
Yeah, but I think this one's going to be a beefy one. So we've talked about this game a few times on the pod already. It was revealed back in 2022 at the Game Awards. Judas, a game being made by Ghost Story Games, which is run by Ken Levine, who is the brain behind BioShock Infinite, System Shock way back in the day, a legend in gaming who hasn't done a game in 11 years. BioShock Infinite came out 11 years ago, just the other day. So they just last week brought up a bunch of press to their studio in Boston, gave them 5 to 6 hours each to play the game. And because of that, there have been a lot of some people are calling it previews, because they're not right now. The game is still being cooked really heavily. Mm-hmm. So, and there's no release date. There's technically a window. They're saying it's supposed to come first part of 2025. But based on what is being discussed, I doubt it. I'm thinking late 2025, early 2026, but we'll get to that. But so it's not necessarily a preview. It's more like, hey, this is what we've been working on for a decade, in more than just a cinematic trailer version. They got interviews with Ken. They have hands-on impressions. A lot of details about Judas came out last week. So I'm pulling a lot of details. So I'm pulling from IGN, a story written up by Ryan McCaffrey over there. Judas first details how Ken Levine is building on BioShock with what he calls narrative Legos. Ken Levine invited IGN and the Game Awards creator Jeff Keighley to Ghost Story Games in Boston, where we spent 6 hours playing a recent build of Judas, followed by a lengthy conversation with the renowned game designer to discuss the long wait since BioShock Infinite, bringing the, quote, narrative Legos concept to life in Judas, what the game's all about, and much more. You can watch the entire interview in the video at the top of this page, which is not the podcast. Go to IGN if you want to watch the interview. It's an hour 15. It's a really good interview. But speaking of what the game is all about, I figured you might want to know a little bit about that before watching the interview, which you're going to do after you listen to the podcast. Don't go anywhere. So let me tell you the basics without spoiling anything. Judas is a first-person narrative-driven shooter that, from a moment-to-moment gameplay perspective, will feel familiar to BioShock fans. You have a gun in your right hand and various organic powers in your left hand. Story-wise, he plays Judas, a young woman aboard the Mayflower, a city-sized spaceship on a multi-generational mission to save humanity by transporting what's left of it from Earth to a new planet called Proxima Centauri. You start the game having been reprinted, yes, meaning you were dead, where you'll wake up and begin interacting with the holographic projections of the 3 leaders who run the ship: Tom, the ship's head of security, who wants to protect all of humanity by ensuring that the Mayflower's original mission stays on course. Nefertiti, the ship's Nobel Prize winning doctor, who wants to create a civilization of full robots with no human flaws. And Hope, who wants your help deleting herself because the existential crisis of her existence leads her to the conclusion that deletion is the only way to end her suffering. Fucking sing it, girl. Further complicating matters is that the three of them are a family. Tom and Nefertiti were married, and Hope was their adopted daughter. It's up to you to side with whomever you feel, but whatever choice you make has consequences. Doing a favor for Tom might piss off Hope and or Nefertiti, and vice versa. The constant push and pull is at the heart of Judas's player-driven narrative, and it means that no two playthroughs are ever likely to be the same. That's the narrative Legos in action, and what we talk about a lot in the course of the interview. Blah, blah, blah. You can watch it. I pulled a few things from the interview because it's a transcription of an hour 15 interview. It's like probably 15,000 words. It's really long. But these are a couple key points that I'm pulling from this. And then Cayman, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. So the idea of narrative Legos came late in development of BioShock Infinite when Ken Levine asked the team, what if Elizabeth could get mad at you and just be like, fuck this, I'm out, based on the decisions that you, the player, make? They immediately realized that that wasn't possible in what they were building, because Elizabeth knew Booker, who is, the protagonist of the game, but didn't know the player controlling Booker. And there was no way to change that. But that is the idea at the forefront of Judas. And then there's a part in the interview that he says, quote, so taking the Lego metaphor, we started thinking, well, could we use handcrafted elements that are not huge entire levels, but sub-elements like lines of speech, pieces of art, textures, maps, encounters, loot, even the layout of a whole experience, and make those out of modular chunks and then teach the game. We call it pseudo-procedural because it's not like Minecraft where everything's being generated off a set of pure mathematical heuristics. You build all of these smaller piece elements in the game, and then you teach the game how to make good levels, essentially a good story, and most importantly, reactive to what you do. So the idea is if you're playing stealthy, it's going to adapt to that. If you're playing action focused, it's going to adapt to that. And if you start siding with one of like the big three, they kept calling them in the interview, the other two are going to react to that. They're going to try to get you to come to their side. They're going to reveal like dirt about the other character. They might like throw wrenches and missions that you're doing to try and get you to stop, working with this other character. So that's kind of the idea of that concept. And then one other concept that I think is important to the conversation, and then let's talk about it, is this idea that's briefly mentioned in the piece that Ryan wrote, which is reprinting. So essentially, like the simple version of reprinting is it's a roguelike element. Like when you die, you go back to a certain state of Judas, but you're being reprinted every time. It's not just like, oh, game over, let's reload your save. It's like, this is a new Judas coming in. It's not like video gamey. It's like, it is, but it's like narratively driven that there's a purpose to this. And part of that, like the reason that you're reprinting is because these like things that they have inside them that helps them reprint, Judas's is corrupted. So like you don't have your memories, which is a lot like a big narrative.
Yeah, so like what they did say in this slight story spoilers, but like the game's still cooking. So it's pretty much just like, I guess the first sentence of a plot is that you wake up as like a newly reprinted Judas without your memories.
Yeah.
And you come to find out the reason you're called Judas is because everyone on the ship's calling you a traitor, because you have apparently sabotaged the ship, and the ship is going to fly into an asteroid belt.
Yeah.
So your game, you're
fucking awesome.
Which, yeah, it's a good, incredible. So like, it's just such a really cool concept. So the one thing that I feel like is a bit trite is like another game where I have lost my memory and I am trying to piece together Memento style. I'm like, that's getting a little, I don't know, maybe not very original Ken Levine.
Yeah.
Also having powers in one hand, weapon in the other, also not very original.
This game is giving BioShock all.
This game is essentially going to be this is BioShock 4 in everything but name.
But honestly, you're right, for sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, what do you think about it? I mean, I got so much out there, but what are your thoughts?
Okay, so first things first, I want to talk about a story we didn't cover, which is that Ubisoft announced that they have worked out to create AI NPCs that they want to debut in game.
Okay.
So why I think this is very important to this particular conversation is this shit sounds like what they're basically not telling us is that this game engine is running using AI.
Oh, 100%. But I
And
think the other, sorry, keep going. I don't want
no, please, Philip, free to jump in.
I was gonna say, but I think the other thing to keep in mind there, because obviously AI, really hot button topic right now. There's a lot of uh differing opinions on AI, the uses of AI, the dangers of AI. But video games have been using AI for like 30 years. Like AI has
Yeah,
always been like a
but
big
it's
part
all
of video games.
yeah, it's all been adaptive though. And like I feel like because I think you can even say like, hey, like what was it? Resident Evil 4 back on the GameCube, PlayStation 2, like that was AI on them making an adaptive difficulty that would adjust itself according to how well you were playing.
Yeah.
But still at its core and essence, it's like a lot of what we've seen roguelites and adaptive difficulties, which have been used in a lot of games, has all been just that, right? It's the game adapting through codes of like these data inputs have been occurring at this, it's statistics. And
Yeah.
then they
Right.
make it like the game will then, it knows if a certain bar is hit, it has to do this. The way that they're talking about this game is that like it will learn as you go and will start adding new things in. So no one's playthrough will ever be the same or even remotely close. And it's, but then they just kept like, it felt like they just kept skirting around the fact that's
It
like,
did.
guys, like this is getting like, I had this. So my whole thought process was like, I can't wait for Watch Dogs 8 where an NPC has just been hanging out on the sidelines of the street, watching you run over all of its brothers and sisters with a monster truck for 6 hours.
Yep.
And then it orders a drone strike on your house.
Yeah.
In real life. Like that's
oh no.
so like I'm just sitting here thinking like this kind of is what it feels like where it's like, oh, like the whole word where Elizabeth in BioShock is like, Booker, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And then like stops helping you. It's like really funny to me to think that like there's gonna be a game like this where like halfway through the game will just be like, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Wait a second though.
No.
What if this so to get to the point I'm trying to make, an important piece of the conversation that I thought was so fascinating was Ryan McCaffrey straight up was like, Ken, how have you gotten away with not releasing a game for 10 years? This game for 10 years. You've been working on this game for 10 years.
Yeah.
How has Take-Two not been like, where the fuck's the game? And part of it was like, you know, I've thankfully been very successful with Bioshock Infinite. Like I have that kind of creative leeway. We're very transparent with where we're at and what we're doing. But he also talked about how the tech that they are building for this game is so explored in video games to this point that Take-Two is really excited about the tech that is being built for this game. So much so that I bet that they are saying, you know what, take your time, because once you're done, we can take what you have built and put it into our other games.
We could take the proprietary technology.
Because he said like they've built an entirely new engine for this game because there wasn't an engine. Like it's being built in Unreal 4, he said, but they've like put so much into it because it's been being built for 10 years.
Fair enough.
But that they had to build like their own engine within it to be able to do like what they want to do. But all of that to say, that context to say, maybe this is the way that we start changing the culture of video gamers by teaching protagonists to be like, hey, you're a racist piece of shit.
Yes. Oh my God.
Maybe.
Okay. So for those of you out there who may not know, this is Babylon B is essentially like it started off as like the Christian version of The Onion. So it was like making fun of like Christianity, making fun of like youth pastors and stuff. And it was quite funny back in the day. They end up selling themselves off to like a bigger company. And then that company is like, you're now going to be like the alt-right of The Onion. We're like, of course, because that's conservative. Like you're going to be the worst version of this.
Yeah.
And so it's normally a lot of stuff that's just not very funny, like recycled, like attack helicopter jokes. Until the other day, they were like, they posted, they were like, white inbred man from West Virginia thinks that pure heritage is the only way to go. It's got a Confederate flag and it's got a Nazi flag in the background. And you'd be shocked to know, Patrick, that the entire audience was like, "This isn't funny."
Wow.
This is like, who are you trying to make laugh? And so it's just like you obviously don't know who your audience is.
Correct.
So I love this idea that we're gonna get video games in the future that's like, we're gonna prompt you, like, are you a bigot? Are you a one of the many phobes you can be? Or like whatever. And it's like just absolutely just drags your ass in real time. Like Troy Baker's voice comes on and is like, hey, you motherfucker. You go get a razor. You shave that neck beard. Stop drinking G Fuel or whatever it's called.
Yes.
I love this. You know what? AI needs to be in video games.
Let's go. Here's what I'll say. I think, because I'm mostly anti AI. I think AI could be a very powerful tool if used correctly and responsibly. But I think at knee jerk reaction, I feel like I am okay in this instance of AI being a thing as long as it is not taking away jobs, one, and two, that they're not using it for things like dialogue. And I hope that all of the dialogue that these narrative Legos are grabbing and pulling in are things that like Troy Baker recorded, because Troy Baker is one of the voices in this game. I don't think that they've confirmed the other two, Nefertiti and Hope's voices or Judas's voice, but Troy Baker's doing his best Joel as Tom. So you could tell, like, the second he opened his mouth, I was like, oh, that's Troy Baker. But that like, as long as this isn't costing people their jobs, then I'm okay with it. Because the thing about it is, it sounds like, hearing Ken talk about it and hearing the way that the conversation was going, and I have some B-roll pulled up now for those of us that are watching. If they can deliver what they are saying, if the way that Ken is talking about this isn't a crock of shit, which it very possibly could be, this could be like the most unique game from like a mechanics standpoint that we've ever seen, in terms of like a game like truly learning as you go along, and like things like dialogue changing and characters changing their minds about you. Like, it might feel like a really alive video game, which could be really cool. I just worry that it's potentially a little too ambitious. Granted, the immediate response to that is they've been doing this for a decade. By the time it comes out, it might be 11 or 12 years that they've been working on it. So like, maybe they've had enough time, but I just worry. I don't want this to end up feeling like they're trying too much stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think the big argument where most people like start to have like very strong opinions when it comes to AI is like, it's always slippery slope.
It is a very slippery slope.
And so it is one of those things where, like, I'm not saying that we should be passive and take a step back and just be like, let AI do its thing. But at the same time, too, like, there is a point where we have to understand that, like, this is just how things are going to go. And like, we also need to start figuring out ways to work around it ourselves. Right. So like, for instance, I work for a mega corporation and they're holding this big thing about how they're so excited because they're going to be debuting AI in our product. And, it'll be, because more people nowadays want to talk online and want to text questions and stuff. And it's more cost efficient for us not to hire more people to answer questions on a computer. We can just have AI do it for free. And that's a hard thing to process.
Yeah.
Of like, that's go on LinkedIn for long enough and you'll see that like every fifth post is someone talking about how AI is going to revolutionize business.
Right. Every single type of business, somehow AI is going to revolutionize.
Yeah. And I'm not to be like an alarmist or anything, but like, the truth is, like, we are going to get to a point where, unfortunately, that's how, like, we're going to have more of that. And
for sure,
I hope that it's a while before we see it. As someone who loves video games, someone who loves literature, someone who loves movies, like, knowing that some, creators are having their voices taken away by a robot, essentially, or an algorithm, is terrifying. I could see if there's a company that's going to do it with the least amount of backlash. I thought it was going to be what was it was going to be EA with Dragon Age.
Oh, sure.
I
Yep.
was like, Dragon Age is going to use AI to build like brand new quest lines, and that's how it's going to be. I still think that very well could happen. Then fucking Ubisoft decided to jump the shark and we're like, we made an AI in PC. Oh boy. But if there's a company that could pull off something like this with the least amount of blowback, it's gonna be Take-Two.
Yeah, I think so. Because like I saw it was one of those, like, you read it and it's like, man, that is such a good fucking point. On Twitter of all places, I saw someone, and I'm gonna paraphrase because I don't remember the exact way it was worded, but it was basically like, the thing that's crazy to me about AI is that essentially what you're saying is, I didn't care enough to make it myself about whatever it is, whether it's marketing, whether it's a poem, a fucking painting, whatever. Like, as an artist, I didn't care enough to do it myself. I had a computer do it. I think it's a really fascinating way to think about AI and like the negative impact that AI can have. It's like, that's why all of it feels so hollow for the most part. But something like this feels a little different to me. And maybe it's just that I'm ever the optimist and I want to trust Ken Levine, a guy who has made like some of my favorite video games. But this feels like that kind of thing where like that blurb or that comment I saw of like, you never, like, AI, you're making it because you didn't care enough to make it yourself. This kind of feels like the opposite of that. We're like, we actually care about this idea so much that we need this to enact the idea, which I think is interesting. And again, this is all speculation. We don't know that AI is actually in this game, but that's one of those things where it's like, that's when the slippery slope comes in, where I'm like, I see this kind of other use case, this other counterpoint, and I'm like, but now you're making me think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what we're not like taking into consideration is that this game has been in development for 11 years now, and it very well could be that they're essentially making the video game version of Cards Against Humanity. Where it's just like, here's 50 scenarios based on actions.
Sure.
And then it literally it's just in place here. And then what's going to end up happening is the game's going to come out and people are going to expect this revolutionary type of video game that will be so different than everyone's playthrough will be so drastically different from itself. It'll be like the No Man's Sky, where it's like, you'll never interact with another person because the universes are so big.
Yeah.
And truth is, in the very first day, someone found someone else. And we're like, I can't see them because you didn't build a fucking character model.
Yeah.
So that being said, what I have this worry, and maybe this is not a worry, maybe this is actually a good thing if they do this, is that the game comes out and it's like, oh, every 10 games is going to be very similar.
Possible.
And at that point, it's like, okay, well, then no AI. Then we're kind of like, we haven't crossed uncharted waters yet. And, we can take a step back and be like, you know what, Ken Levine, there's a reason it took you 11 years. And then we're going to make jokes. And we can make we have content. We have content because we're content creators.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that is interesting about this for me is this idea that I am vamping because the idea left my brain, came in.
Yeah, it did, brother.
No. Okay. We were talking about narrative Legos,
the
game,
Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, yes, it's back. We did it. Hearing Ryan McCaffrey and Jeff Keighley talk about it, hearing the Friends Per Second podcast talk about it, Lucy James, Jake Baldino, another gentleman whose name I forget. The part of it that was actually the most exciting to me, with all of this that we just talked about, all of these implications, all of these conjectures that we have, these new, revolutionary mechanics, they were like, it didn't feel procedurally generated to me. Like, it felt like everything that I did felt completely designed like a BioShock game. And they all had different experiences, but like, it felt legit. It felt like they were in a BioShock game that was designed. And that is the part that's so exciting to me, is that, like, it's a 5-minute vertical slice. I'm sure it was tested to hell. I'm sure they wanted it to present in the best possible way, because that's how you market a game. But the fact that all of them were so high on that, and all in their own ways said a version of that, of like, I didn't even realize that like these narrative Legos were happening. It just was. That's the part that gets me a little jazzed about it. Like, ooh, maybe they are onto something here that could really be really, really cool. So I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm sure we aren't going to see a lot more of this game for a while. Maybe we get a release date by the end of the year. Like maybe they come back to Game Awards in December and give us a release date for like May of next year or whatever. But with the amount of access that they gave just now and how many, different places we're talking about it, it's kind of, I get the vibe that like, okay, back to work. We're going to be quiet for a bit. It's kind of how I feel.
Well, I mean, we're only in April. Like, by December, like they, enough could be done by December for them to feel confident to put another trailer out.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not a release date, maybe like a early mid, like summer 2025 or something, like a ballpark guesstimate. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if any one of us in the Fantasy Critic picked it up, but if you did, it ain't coming this year, boss.
I think Jordan maybe did, but I don't know if he still has it. But I mean, I picked up Mario Kart 9 and the next 3D Mario platform.
I'm so pissed off. I went in to pick up a game the other day, earlier this week. Actually, I think it was yesterday. I went to go pick up a game, and you got it with your very last pick.
No Rest for the Wicked?
No Rest for the Wicked.
Let's
I was like, this son of a bitch shouldn't have known what this game was because I just realized who the developer was and was like, that's an easy points. But,
look, someone's got to try to keep you from the fucking championship because right now you are going to be breezing on by with the way that your games have been performing.
It was funny too, is the fact that like of the games that I've got, like I still have like 5 open slots to add more games. Yeah. So as long as I don't pick anything with negative points, like I could just pad if I wanted to. Yeah. And I'm just the most attentive I've been during Fantasy Critic.
That's true.
Which That's true. Props to me for staying with it for how many months now? 3.
Props to you. Jordan, I see you put a clip in the Discord. What the fuck did you do? Is this something that's going to get me in trouble, Jordan?
I hope so.
I don't like this. I don't like how not being able to see it because I'm busy giving you content. I'm scared, Jordan. Tell me what you did. Cayman, can you believe it? That's our show. Coming in at a cool 56 minutes, but there's a little bit more to discuss. We got some updates for you. We got some games coming to Game Pass. We got some games coming to PS Plus. I want to mention. So PS Plus, we got Tales of Kenzera Zao coming day one to PlayStation Plus on the 23rd of this month. That is a game that we've talked a little bit about on the show. It looks really cool. It is it's giving Metroidvania. Also, weirdly, I realized the other day, the founder of the studio, Abubakar Salim, it was the voice of Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins, and also was on House of the Dragon and Raised by Wolves. Like this is like a really accomplished actor.
I didn't know that he was Bayek. I do know, like I immediately remembered him as the android, like the father. I think his name's Father in Raised by Wolves. Like immediately recognized him. I was like, whoa, hold on, wait, what?
He founded this studio that is making this game. Yeah, really fucking cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
Dave the Diver coming to PS Plus day one on his PlayStation release, the 16th of this month.
Fuck yeah, I'm gonna get that platinum and rub it in Gray's face.
Oh yeah. And then 3 games coming to PlayStation Plus that are free this month: Immortals of Avium, Minecraft Legends, and Skull of the Hero Slayer. Those are all available right now. Download now. And then on Xbox Game Pass, we're getting Lego 2K Drive, Lil Gator game came in, EA Sports PGA Tour, Botany Manor, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Harold Halibut. A couple interesting little titles in there. So.
Yeah, that's it's going. Patrick, can I give you an update?
Yeah, give me.
Patrick, it's April 2nd. I've currently watched 143 films this year.
God damn. And
the last series I watched was, are you ready for this? 1987's Mutant Hunt.
Ooh.
Shot on video. Couldn't tell you a single thing about it outside of the fact that there is a lot of really slow kung fu scenes, and it is a must watch. Next up is 1988's Zombie Death House, starring John Saxon.
Okay.
Directed by John Saxon. And let me tell you, John Saxon acts his fucking way to Trash Cinema Hall of Fame. And then lastly, Zombie Cop. That was in 1991, and I'm just gonna say it right now.
Say it.
It's very racist.
Oh boy.
So don't watch that movie, but definitely
ACAB.
go watch Mutant Hunt. But someone had to do it, Patrick.
Someone had to do it. And you know, when we say ACAB, we also are referring to zombie cops. So
yeah, it's something.
You said 1987 Mutant something made me think of
Mutant Hunt.
1997 X-Men 97 out now
Yeah.
on Disney Plus. Fucking rules, by
Yeah.
the way. If you're
Do
not
I need to
watching X-Men
rewatch
97.
all of the animated series?
You
before-
don't. I think what is good to know going into it is exactly how the animated series ends.
Okay.
So if you don't remember that, I would just look up how it ends because it picks up like essentially the moment that the original series ended.
Cool.
So I watched
it ended with a Dark Phoenix saga, didn't it?
No, that was earlier in the series. It ended with, I mean, I guess spoilers for the end of a cartoon that ended 25 years ago. It ends with Charles Xavier dying.
Oh,
and so it picks up right after Professor X is dead. And like what comes next. And it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
New episodes either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I forget, but check that out. Cayman, now that we are at the end of the show, where can folks follow you to keep up with what you're doing on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. I don't want you to see my Instagram. That's private. It's nothing but feet pics. Yeah, you can find me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. Join Discord. You'll find me posting reviews there. You'll get a bunch of platinum reviews and in-depth analysis. And sometimes I'm serious.
That's true. That is very true. You can follow me at Patrick Schwag. You can follow the pod at Spot Games Pod, both on Twitter, and then Spotlight Games Pod everywhere else. That's Instagram. That's TikTok. That's YouTube. That's Twitch. Join the Discord. We're here Tuesdays at 8 every week. Also, Wednesdays at 8 is when we're doing our Spotlight Games streams. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing some Stardew. But keep your eyes peeled. We might surprise you with a little Last of Us 2 this week if the calendar lets us. I think it's going to let us, but we'll wait and see because that HDMI is fixed, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe on Twitch. We're affiliates. We can make a little moolah if you do so. But until next week and until tomorrow, thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Democracy.